My son and his wife. Locked my wife and me in the basement of our own house. While she panicked, I whispered, "Quiet, they don't know what's behind this wall." When they left, I moved a brick and revealed a secret I'd kept hidden for 43 years. Chapter 1. The Basement Betrayal. It started with a Sunday brunch and a knock on the door. My son Ethan and his wife Alana had arrived unannounced, again, with that hollow politeness they always wore like masks. My wife Claire still clung to the hope that maybe, just maybe, they came to visit because they missed us. I knew better. They brought takeout which they rarely paid for. They laughed too loudly, complimented the house too much, and kept glancing at each other like they were waiting for something. After we ate, Alana offered to tidy up, while Ethan asked if we could help him move some old boxes down to the basement. Claire agreed instantly. She always did, eager to feel needed. As I descended the narrow stairs behind him, something felt wrong. Ethan wasn't talking, his shoulders were stiff. When we reached the bottom, I turned, slam. The door above us shut with a thunderous finality. A heavy click followed, then silence. Claire called out, confused. I banged on the door. Nothing. Then Ethan's muffled voice, "It's just for a little while, Dad. Think of it as early retirement." Claire gasped, panic rising in her chest. She shook the door. "Ethan. What are you talking about?" I stood still, not shocked, not really. This house had always felt like borrowed time ever since I'd signed the deed over to him last year, when my health was wavering and Claire begged me to trust our son. "You need rest, Dad. Let us take care of things," he had said then. I should have seen this coming. Claire sat on the concrete step, crying. Why would he do this? Why now? My eyes moved across the cold, dim basement. Tools, pipes, a broken chair, a false wall, carefully bricked up decades ago. I took a deep breath, knelt beside Claire and whispered, "Quiet. They don't know what's behind this wall." She turned to me, startled. Her tears paused. There were parts of my life even she didn't know. Not because I didn't trust her, but because I never thought I'd need to open that part of myself again. Until now. I reached into the old fuse box, twisted the back panel, and removed a small key wrapped in wax paper. Then I walked to the far wall, and pressed on one brick, third from the floor, fourth from the right. Click. A section of the wall groaned, Claire's breath caught. What? What is this, Jacob? I turned to her, eyes steady. Our way out. And the beginning of something they're not ready for. Chapter 2. The tunnel below, and the truth buried deep. Claire stared as the section of wall slowly opened inward with a groan, revealing a narrow passage shrouded in darkness. The air that seeped out smelled of dry earth and old metal. The scent of secrets sealed for generations. I reached for the emergency flashlight tucked behind the gas heater, clicked it on, and stepped inside first. Claire hesitated, but followed without a word, her hand clutching mine like she had the first night we moved into this house 47 years ago. The tunnel curved downward, carved through reinforced concrete and dirt. It was no accident, no storm cellar or old builder's mistake. I had built it, brick by brick, long before Ethan was born. Claire finally broke the silence. Why is this here, Jacob? What did you do? I stopped, turned, and faced her. Not what I did, what I prepared for. Her eyes searched mine, filled with panic, confusion. And something else. Trust. Even now. This house wasn't always ours, I said. In 1979, I helped a friend who was being hunted by his own blood, a family inheritance war that turned violent. I built this tunnel to hide him. He stayed here 3 months before the courts cleared his name. When he left, he gave me something. We turned the final corner, and Claire froze. A steel vault door stood before us, untouched by time, sealed with a numeric keypad. I entered the 6-digit code from memory, her birthday, twice. The lock clicked open. Inside was a small private room. Concrete floor, steel shelves, a desk, a cot. It looked like a war bunker, but what caught Claire's breath wasn't the setup. It was the safe on the wall. I opened it, revealing a thick manila envelope marked in faded ink. To be used only when blood betrays blood. Claire reached for it, trembling. Inside were a copy of the revocable trust one had never filed, naming a private foundation as beneficiary, not Ethan. A backup title deed to the house, never recorded, but signed and notarized, listing my name alone. A USB drive, password protected, containing security footage, audio recordings, and bank transfer data. And a photo of Ethan and Alana, standing with a realtor we didn't recognize, dated last week. Claire's voice cracked. They were trying to sell our home before we were even gone. I nodded. I knew they might try something. I just didn't know they'd stoop this low. Then I handed her the final piece. A small laminated card. It was a contact, a name she didn't recognize. "Who is this?" she asked. I smiled faintly. "An old friend, a retired federal lawyer. He owes me a favor. We're not just getting out of here, Claire. We're taking everything back." As we turned to leave the room, I pulled a lever hidden beside the desk. Behind us, a second exit slowly opened, a reinforced trapdoor that led to the old maintenance tunnel under the nearby elementary school. Claire wiped her eyes and whispered, "They think we're trapped." "Let them," I said. "They don't know we've been preparing for this since before they were born." Chapter 3: The Emergency Contact Who Never Forgot. We emerged from the school's old boiler room exit just after midnight. The place had long been decommissioned. The district never funded the renovation. But the exit point was still accessible. Just as I remembered. Claire held onto me, her steps unsteady. She wasn't just shaken by what Ethan had done. She was unraveling inside. "Jacob, how did we get here?" "Our son, our daughter-in-law. We gave them everything." I didn't answer right away. I knew what she meant. But I also knew that grief couldn't paralyze us now. We were free. But the real battle had just begun. The phone call outside the school, in the chilled night air, I pulled out a hidden flip phone from a lockbox I had buried years ago beneath the air conditioning unit. The battery was still charged. I only ever used it for one person. I dialed the number etched into my memory. It rang once, twice. Then came the answer. "This better be important, old man. You don't call unless something's on fire." That voice. It hadn't changed. "It's Jacob Monroe," I said. "And you were right. I should have filed that paperwork years ago." There was a pause, then a sharp inhale. "You're calling about the trust, aren't you?" "What happened?" "My son locked me and Claire in our own basement. Tried to starve us out. He wants the house, the assets, everything. I need your help." The voice on the other end changed instantly. Professional. Sharp. Cold. "Where are you?" "At the corner of Blackridge and Elm. Behind the school. I'll be there in 20. Don't move." The man in the gray sedan. 17 minutes later, a gray Lincoln pulled up. The door opened and out stepped Thomas Greaves, former federal prosecutor, now quietly retired, but still holding favors like gold bars. He was in his 60s, well-dressed, briefcase in one hand, Glock holstered beneath his blazer. He walked over, expression unreadable. "You look like hell," he muttered. "I just spent 2 days in my own basement." "Fair enough," he said, then turned to Claire and nodded. "Ma'am, you okay?" Claire nodded faintly. Greaves led us into the car, then began going over everything with clinical precision. I showed him the documents from the safe. The alternate deed. The original trust document. The USB drive. "You never filed this trust?" "No. I wanted to believe Ethan would grow into the man I hoped he'd become. I was wrong." Greaves snapped the USB into his laptop. The screen filled with banking data. Wire transfers from our account to shell companies, controlled by Alana's cousin, apparently a shady realtor and financial planner. Then came the audio clips. Our smart speaker, I had configured it years ago to autosave certain trigger phrases. "Let them rot. They're almost gone anyway." Alana's voice. Greaves leaned back. "This is more than inheritance fraud. It's attempted murder by neglect. And it's traceable." Claire covered her mouth, tears filling her eyes. "We can go to the police, right?" Greaves shook his head. "We will, but not yet. Let them believe you're still missing. You have one chance at poetic justice, Jacob. And if we move too soon, they'll bury the evidence. I nodded slowly. So what do we do? He looked at me grimly. We go home, but not through the front door. First, we pay a visit to the title office, then to the notary, and finally, to the news. The plan begins. Before sunrise, Greaves made 4 calls. He scheduled a private appointment with a real estate clerk he once mentored. He arranged a mobile notary to validate the old deed. And he contacted a reporter from the local channel Ethan always watches, the one that ran his wedding story 3 years ago. We're going to bury them, Greaves said. No, I replied. We're going to unearth the truth. Let the whole neighborhood see who they really are. Claire took my hand. Let's make them wish they'd never touched that basement door. Chapter 4, The Court of Public Opinion. We arrived at the edge of town just after sunrise. Thomas Greaves hadn't wasted a second. Everything was timed to perfection. In his briefcase were 3 notarized documents, the restored trust signed and validated at 4:12 a.m. A new deed reverting full ownership of the house to Claire and me, and most importantly, a legal injunction prepared for emergency filing, barring Ethan and Alana from accessing or selling any of our assets pending investigation. They thought locking us in the basement was the end of our story, I said, watching the sky shift from navy to gold. They have no idea it was just the opening scene, the broadcast. At 7:45 a.m. Greaves and I met with investigative reporter Samantha Cross, a rising anchor with a reputation for exposing elite corruption. She looked skeptical at first until she heard the recordings. When the clip played of Alana's voice, "They'll be dead in a week, then it's all ours," Samantha's hand flew to her mouth. "You realize," she whispered, "this will go viral in hours." "We're not here for fame," Claire said, her voice tight. "We're here for truth, for dignity." Samantha nodded. "Then we do this right. You'll stay anonymous at first. Voice distortion, shadows, but the story will be impossible to ignore. When you're ready to show your face, the public will already be on your side." At home, the thieves celebrated. Back at our house, Ethan and Alana were having brunch in the garden. Claire's roses had bloomed. She'd tended those for decades. And now, her son's wife sat smugly beside them, laughing with 2 city officials over mimosas. They were preparing to list the house. "No sign of the old man or the hag," Alana said sweetly. "It's almost like they vanished." Ethan nodded. "By next month, we'll close escrow." Can't believe how easy it was. But just as they raised their glasses, the phone rang. Ethan answered casually until his face drained of color. "What, an injunction?" "No, that's impossible." "And what news story?" Greaves smirked beside me in the car. "Let them panic. They'll run straight into the cameras. The news goes live." By 3:15 p.m., the teaser hit the airwaves. Exclusive. Prominent couple accused of locking elderly parents in basement to steal multimillion-dollar estate. Security camera footage played on loop, grainy but unmistakable. Ethan locking the steel door. Alana's voice saying, "Let them rot." By 5 p.m., the full expose aired. The city's forum boards lit up. Neighbors commented in horror. Former friends who had once admired our son openly condemned him. And then came the kicker. Sources confirmed the couple are safe and plan to speak publicly this Friday. The final scene of the broadcast. A shadowed silhouette of Claire, her voice trembling but resolute. They weren't just stealing our money. They tried to erase our existence. Ethan and Alana's panic. By nightfall, they had barricaded the front gates, but it was too late. Detectives showed up at dawn. Child Protective Services got involved because Alana's niece, who had visited often, was found on footage witnessing the crime. The town no longer whispered. It roared. The invitation. Friday morning, I stood at the courthouse steps beside Claire and Greaves. Behind us, a crowd gathered. Reporters, locals, former church friends, garden club members. I walked to the microphone, looked straight into the cameras. "My son once asked me, 'What legacy are you leaving behind, old man?' I say this now, loud and clear. My legacy is not money. It's not a house. It's the truth. And the truth will always outlive the lies built on top of it." Claire reached over and held my hand. We stood together, two survivors no longer hiding. Final chapter. The secret room behind the brick. The media frenzy didn't change us. Not really. Claire and I were still the same people who had built that home, raised a family, planted the garden, fought off storms, and kissed our grandson's forehead goodnight. But we knew there was still one more thing to do. One more truth to reveal. The one I had buried deeper than any safe or trust document. Back to the basement. The house was now legally ours again. The locks had been changed. Ethan and Alana were under investigation. Publicly disgraced and barred from approaching the property. The quiet of the home returned like a friend. Claire walked slowly to the basement door. This time, I opened it. Freely. No fear. No rush. We stepped down together. Each stair groaned with memory. I approached the corner wall. The same one I had whispered about the night we were locked in. They don't know what's behind this wall, I had said. Now I showed her. I placed my fingers against the uneven bricks, found the loose one, third row from the floor, and pulled. Dust rose. Behind it was the latch. A dull click echoed through the silence. The panel creaked open. The hidden room inside was a small concrete chamber lined with sealed metal cabinets, photos and frames, and a faded army duffel. Claire gasped softly. You kept it, I nodded. Everything from before the house, before the betrayal, our past preserved. In that room were deeds to 2 rural properties Claire never knew we still owned. A folder labeled Ethan, before the drift, filled with childhood drawings and letters he'd written to Santa, to us, to his future self. An old dictaphone on which I had recorded every call, every threat, and every conversation the kids had once dismissed as crazy old man paranoia. And in the far corner, a framed photo of Claire holding baby Ethan, sunlight pouring through a window, long since gone. Taped to the back of the frame was a handwritten note from me, from decades ago. It simply said, if one day I forget who I am, let this room remind me who we were. Claire wiped a tear from her cheek. You saved all of this, for what? For the day someone tried to erase us, I said. So we could prove, even to ourselves, that we mattered. The final blow. Greaves filed one last motion that week. Using the contents of the secret room to reinforce the elder abuse charges, tie in the premeditated fraud, and strip Ethan and Alana of inheritance rights permanently. The court ruled in our favor. They lost everything, even the dignity they clung to. And the community? They rallied around us like we were their parents too. We didn't just win in court. We won in the hearts of the people who once doubted us. The garden reclaimed. On the final Sunday of spring, Claire planted roses again. The same breed Alana had trampled under champagne glasses. And as our grandson, little Adam, ran across the lawn toward us, arms outstretched, calling, Grandpa. Grandma. We knew. The house had never belonged to Ethan. It was always meant for those who remembered how to love. Epilogue. The legacy beyond the walls. The house is quiet now. Not because it's empty, but because it's finally at peace. Claire and I sit together on the front porch most evenings. The same porch we built with our own hands, sanding each plank, staining it as the sun dipped below the trees. We sip tea. We laugh more. We speak less, but feel more. We started inviting the neighbors over again, the ones who used to cross the street in silence when Ethan told them we were losing our minds. Now they bring pie, flowers, and sometimes apologies. They say they never knew. They say they should have asked. We tell them it's okay, because silence, like a locked basement, can be broken if you know where to push. A grandson's footsteps. Little Adam runs the halls now. He's 6, all energy in questions. He doesn't remember much about the day his parents locked us away, and that's a blessing. But he does remember the hidden room. He calls it Grandpa's secret fort, and every Sunday he asks me to take him down there. Together we look through the photos, the old letters, the army medals, and the family tree etched in ink and sweat. He asked me once, Grandpa, why did you hide all this? I smiled. Because some things aren't meant to be seen right away, Adam. Some truths wait until the world is ready. Then he said, will I ever have a secret wall like this? No, I told him. You'll have something better, a name worth protecting. Legacy isn't money. People still ask if we regret not sharing the house sooner, if we regret being too quiet, too trusting, too old-fashioned. But what they don't understand is, we didn't lose the house when we were locked in. We would have lost it if we'd stayed quiet after we were free. That's what legacy is, not the walls, but the story written inside them, not the value of a house, but the values lived within it. And so, we left the door open for Adam, for the neighbors, for those who whisper through pain, thinking no one hears them. We left the basement door unlocked, the brick loose, the truth preserved, not hidden. Because someday, someone else may need to know that even when your own family turns against you, even when your name is spit on, your love betrayed and your home stolen, there can still be justice. There can still be light. There can still be a legacy beyond the walls. Was this revenge perfectly justified, or should the storm have raged harder? Drop your verdict below.